368, mate, I would say.
But when you decide to go out and talk about spring tactics, is there any better way to start than a 46.4 mirror? I am absolutely blown away. This is one of the biggest fish in the Chilston Stour. It's one of the old originals, and it is one that I've never made acquaintance with until today. That is the baby halfling, and I am so pleased. I literally am a bit speechless. It's been an amazing start to the spring campaign. The black mirror, now the baby halfling, and them Garlic Infusion hook baits, topped with a squid pillow, over the mixed chorizo, the chorizo cement as I like to call it, and that is the proof in the pudding. Thank you, thank you. What a fantastic way to start this 24-hour session piece. Well, that really is one of the lake's true gems. The baby halfling, 46 plus. Thank you. Going to swim off to make somebody else's season. What a beautiful, majestic creature. Look at that. What a way to start the first in-session piece of the spring. Oh man, and to think we've got till this time tomorrow. But blown away with that. That is one of the lake's true gems, and that is one ticked off the list. Well, you join me bankside here on a beautiful day here in Kent. I'm at my Kent Syndicate, the Chilston Stour. It's got fantastic form when you've got milder temperatures, just like we've got now. It's getting nice and warm throughout the duration of our stay. We've got 24 hours to make it happen using simple spring tactics. With the lake being relatively shallow, it gives a good opportunity to find the fish. You can see where they're moving around. They do like to show in the early spring, and especially in this sunshine. We're going to get 22 to 24 degrees during the duration of our stay, and I'm really sure that chance is going to materialise. The lake has been fishing very well over the last couple of weeks since the start of the new season, and the fish that reside in here, they're just incredible. You know, there's some real special ones, some really old gems. Some of the new stock is fantastic, and they're putting on the weight faster than you'd ever know. It really is turning into one of not just the southeast's, but one of the UK's most special venues. Let's get the rods out. Let's try and find a few likely areas. The lake is very shallow, it gets weedy very quickly, so you've got to ensure you're presented, you're fishing effectively. Let's get up into the swim and try and make it happen. Spring is all about being impactful, and it's also about being responsive. What I mean by that is if you see a fish show, it's great to cast a single hook bait, but a nice little attractor is a small parcel such as a solid bag. I'm just tying one up now. Got a little Garlic Infusion dumbbell there, tipped with a sweet corn pillow just for a little bit of visual. Cream stim pellet. I like to use the smallest solid bags I can get away with. I've got a 3.5 ounce inline there. The pellet mix that I'm using is the cream stim. 3 different breakdown times, 3 different sizes of pellet, but it's got a lovely dairy creamy milk profile. Super lovely flavour. Smells like a Caramac bar. Really does get the old taste buds going. I like to put that in a solid bag, little and often, a few little taps. Get the bag nice and tight, nice and compact. I'll put enough pellet in there just so I can cover the lead. And then I'll push and add the hook bait to the front of the bag. I just like it that the hook bait presentation is sitting proud above the lead. This is nothing new, it's nothing revolutionary, nothing from me. Many people would have seen people out there, Rob Burgess and such alike, using this. It's a great presentation, and it's not to be ignored. When they come over the top of the bag, the hook bait is standing proud every single time. It's just a really effective for hook holds. But the element I like to use, it's a super single. Solid bag in the spring is an absolute winner. You can use solid bags all year round, but this time of the year where they're really waking up, it's a great time to be using solids. Casting at showing fish, casting in and around fizzing, it gives a great presentation. You have a nice bit of bait out there, just enough for one mouthful. If you're using bait boats or rowing boats, you can get away with a larger solid bag. But I like to use the smallest bag I can get away with, keeping it nice and tight, nice and compact, and it really is a great little edge. Really tight. You've got the lead on one side proud, spin it round, you've got the hook bait proud on the other side. Little bit of tape. Couple of granny knots, lick and stick the corners and we're finished. But it really is a great thing to be using. If you're not using solid bags, definitely have a look. They're easy and quick to tie, super effective, and it just acts as like a super single. With it being spring, I like to use variations of hook bait presentation out there. As I touched on, the lake's very shallow. With the sunlight, the photosynthesis, the weed is already starting to grow. Out there in the pond, you've got eelgrass, you've got Canadian, there's a lot of siltweed prominent at the moment. The weed's going to be coming up in an abundance over the next few weeks and months, but I want to ensure that I'm presented every single time. One of the rods I've got out there on a nice tight, compact, solid bag. One of my other rods, that's out there over the chorizo cement. And the third rod is going to be the old faithful chod rig. The great thing with the chod is I can present near enough over any weed which is out there in the lake. I've got a top bead that I can move up depending on the height of the weed, the height of the eelgrass. I've got a buffer bead down here just above a little heli safe, 4 ounce lead. I'm actually fishing quite a way out with this rod, but to determine the area that I want to fish, if the spots was much closer in, I'd be happy to use a lighter lead so it doesn't penetrate right down through the depths of the weed. But with using this on a naked chod setup, it ensures that I'm fishing every single time. I've got 2 super buoyant pillows on there. They're both the super squids. There's a 12mm and a 10mm as a little topper. A little bit of putty to counteract the buoyancy. Nice curve in the chod rig, but that presents itself really nice. The weed that I'm fishing over out there's a little bit of siltweed, little bit of eelgrass, probably about 2.5 foot, so I've got the beads at the right distance apart, and this is going to ensure that I'm presenting every single time. Great thing with a chod, again, like the solid bag as a super single, this is perfect for casting at showing fish. You've got to be an opportunist angler this time of the year. Those subtle shows, they're out there, they're clearing off the leeches from the winter, and they are there to be caught. So that's my opening gambit. I've got a chod out, I've got one out over a bit of bait, the chorizo cement, and I've got one out on the ever faithful solid bag. Well, we're now just chilling at the side of the swim as the sun's setting behind me, and what can only be described as such a quick hit start to the session, landing one of the lake's prize gems. It's actually the fish that is the current lake record for the venue, the baby half ling, 46.8, and it's actually the second biggest fish I've ever caught in the UK. So I'm absolutely made up, showing that the spring tactics that I've chosen are definitely working. I've been opting to use those tactics over the last few weeks and I've had some incredible success. This has got to be the best start to one of the springs I've ever had. I had one of the lake's prizes known as the Black Mirror, just over £40. The next session, a 38 pounder. Last week's session I got down and had one of the old battle scarred commons known as the Parrot Scarred, 34.5 pounds. And like you would have seen, to start this session in such fine form, having, for me, one of my main targets. There's 2 fish that I really wanted to catch this year. That was one of them, the baby half ling. It is currently the lake record, and there's another old original in this venue called Trio. So the spring campaign is well and truly underway. I've started each session with 3 different presentations, seeing what's opting to work on that session, and then changing all 3 rods over throughout the duration of my session. They've been 24 to 36 hour sessions over the last few weeks, and it really has paid to be here for a little bit longer than an overnighter. It's gave me more scope to see what's going on. It's told me where the fish want to be. It's where they're nice and comfortable, and it's gave me a really good insight into the topography of the lake and the way that the weed's going to grow this year. With the high intense sun that we're having, and I really do think it isn't going to be long before the lake's going to be closed for 3 to 4 weeks due to spawning, which is all in fairness. I really do abide by this. Once they say that the lake's shut for spawning, you've got to give them time, you've got to respect the fish, you want to come back and catch them in tip-top condition. But I think having that window of having no lines in there, the fish having a little bit of freedom, the photosynthesis working, the weed growth coming through, we're going to be coming back to a different lake. So in the spring going into the summer, I touched on that I like to use the naked chods and the solid bags. But on the third rod, we're blessed on this venue, you can cast, you can go out in a rowing boat, or you could also use a bait boat. And I like to use something, I call it chorizo cement, and you can make this as sloppy as you like or as heavy as you like. So you can get it nice and heavy, get it down to the bottom. When you're using flake, crushed boilies, mixed in with other ingredients, when you've got a bit of tow on the water like we've got now, if you're dropping from a bait boat or a rowing boat or even spodding, it will drift and create flavours and attractors, making your actual hook bait area very large. At the minute on here, I want to get little compact areas so they're feeding nice and tight in the holes in the low-lying weed, and I find this works great. That is it, coming to a close. No more fish, nothing else has materialised. The lad down in the shallow bay, he has nicked one last night, a 32-pound mirror, but that is me now. I'm going to get myself off to work, just finished a cup of tea, enjoying the early morning sun. But in the shallower, more weedy areas of the lake, some of the lads have noticed that a few fish really are starting to follow now, the small males, so I don't think it'll be long before they get spawning on the mind. We did touch on that, we've seen on social media, some lakes are already spawning up and down the country, but for this venue in this area of the country where I live, it's got to be the earliest I've ever seen them start in a group and potentially spawn. I'm off to work, the other lads out of respect are all winding in as well. I really am looking forward to come back, chomping at the bit. Let's go.